You want your viewer ultimately to feel like they're watching a magic trick, kind of stand in amazement and just kind of wonder how it was done, trying to make guesses.
You want your viewer to be watching the story and not questioning, okay, how was that done?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Bob Keane. I am the Chair of Visual Effects and Immersive Studies here at UNCSA.
Hi, my name is Mark Jabourian. I'm a fourth year visual effects student, and today we're going to be reviewing the effects of Wednesday.
Hello, thing.
So it's interesting how they went back to using blue screen. A few years ago would have been all CGI, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was a big trend of just going full CGI a while ago. I think it was mainly Tim Burton that wanted to have a lot of physical action and a lot of nuances that you can't really quite achieve with CGI, especially when you have to interact with physical items in the scene. I think people typically will see that blue screen and think that the whole thing can just be erased in one click, but it's usually a lot of manual work where they're cutting out the actor.
Absolutely, because there's a hole.
It's just nothing back
People
there.
doesn't realize that it doesn't fill the hole.
Yes. And if you notice, a lot of the scenes where the hand is there, the background or the camera is locked off.
Which makes total sense.
Yeah. And here, I think that's a fully CG hand, and they're kind of marrying that with some practical stuff.
Which is always a brilliant idea to mix it up, mix up the techniques.
And I think I remember them mentioning that they only went the full CG route when everything else failed. So
always a good place to go to it is when everything else. But it's all that, the bedding moving when the hand is pressing it. That would be a nightmare to do absolutely. CGI.
And there's no point. It's just there's no point to be pushing your VFX team to be moving bed sheets and things like that.
Or you end up with invisible effects like Roger Rabbit, where you have to constantly move the scenery around.
Yes.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! It's happening! I think I'm moving out!
I think this is one of the ones that uses those cuts very cleverly to not give away too much.
I come from an era where that probably would have all been done on set. There's nothing there that I watched that we couldn't have done on set, but I doubt that it was done all completely on set.
They may have also done that intentionally to give it a more
period
look.
film. Yeah, I think so. I'm guessing that they didn't do American Werewolf. That they didn't have transformation heads and they didn't have prosthetics that would somehow be able to change. But they shot it in such a way that it would still look like the 1990s kind of feel to it all.
Even the motion of the hand almost felt like an animatronic puppet in a way.
Yeah, which is a kind of if we think about the Addams Family, we think about either the original 60s series or we think about the movies. Yeah. So I think it's kind of rooted already in its period.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that I learned on some of my projects here is whenever I have a fully CG shot, if you try to push camera moves and things like that, that would be very expensive or almost impossible to do practically. It stands out as a CG shot. But thinking in a way that how would I set up a track on this surface if I needed to? Like, would there be any imperfections in the camera that would be inherent to that space?
I think that's a really good point, that we actually have a cinematic language inside our head, which is full of all the flaws that humanity brings to operating cameras and catching pieces of things. And then I think after that, the cleaner it becomes, the less gritty and the less story involved.
Less convincing.
Yeah.
And it even goes so far as you could show nothing and imply everything with sound and almost give more of a visceral response to your viewer,
Well, I think the sound is 80% of any special effect. I think the sound is really what contributes to it all. It's very Tim Burton, it's very the big eyes and the teeth and everything else, but it's also got this, almost feels like a graphic novel. So he's got the real performer on stage, and he's got them on stilts, and he's wearing arm extensions. I mean, that's an interesting combination.
I almost feel that very little of that performance actually ended up showing up on screen.
I think it's a guide. I think you're absolutely right. I think it's a guide to just locking something into three-dimensional space is really hard. So having a reference there even if it's going to be completely replaced.
Absolutely.
And I guess that in this particular circumstances, they can do that because Hyde was bigger than the performer. So they could hide the performer by the fact that Hyde's form would fit over it.
You're saying hide a lot right now.
Yeah, hide the performer with Hyde. Yeah, yeah.
We need a different
Conceal.
Yeah, different. Yeah, conceal Hyde inside Hyde. Yeah.
Hide inside Hyde.
Hide inside Hyde. Yeah. On a student film, we would make a costume. We would almost definitely not go that route. I'd love to think that we would go that route, but there's so much work on a three-dimensional character to do like that.
And I think that just on the topic of limitations, I think one thing that we can do is really embrace limitations that you have, because oftentimes that can lead you to really creative solutions that would have just been solved by like a button press or something, just to make your vision come true. But sometimes if you just think about those limitations that are in place, you really can get creative with your cuts and the things that you're implying, or twist your story in a way that you may not have expected.